That someone special we once shared a romance with, long-lost lovers we never expect to see again. But this is a story of a romance that did heat up again 38 years later. It involved none other than a former Mr. Universe. His long-lost lover spilled a secret that changed his life. Mary Garofalo reports.
Until we meet another day.
Jerry Yancey never dreamed she'd fall for Mr. Universe.
It was those fantastic blue eyes and that wonderful smile this big. I guess I must have fallen in love with him instantly.
All the girls fell in love with George Eiferman. With rippling muscles and a perfect physique, lucky number 13 had won the Mr. America title in 1948. A few years later, while strutting his stuff on California's Muscle Beach, it was a beautiful blonde named Jerry who caught the muscle man's eye.
Just a special something about her, and a friendly smile and affable look.
Even though the lovely young singer was already married, she knew there was something special about George.
Isn't it weird? And yet I had been in love with my husband 11 years before we got married. But who knows? Who can tell the ways of the heart?
She knew romance was impossible, but the hard-bodied George became good friends with Jerry and her husband Warren. In between national tours with the likes of Mae West and other big Hollywood stars, George would stop by Warren and Jerry's house.
I just wanted to get my hands on those gorgeous muscles with all my heart, but I didn't even dare think about it.
Jerry and I would look at each other, goggle-eyed sometimes, but it was innocent, really.
Whenever I'd see him on television or see his pictures in magazines, I'd really get stoked, as they say.
By 1955, Jerry and Warren's marriage was on the rocks. They divorced, and George came over for one of his afternoon visits. It turned out to be one they'd never forget.
I immediately just put my arms around his neck, and we kissed and kissed and kissed.
And we kissed and hugged, and instead of shaking hands.
And then finally, I couldn't stand it any longer, and I took him by the hand and led him into my bedroom. This picture was taken the afternoon after the event. I like to say I looked like the cat who swallowed the canary, but I was fantastically happy at last. At last I'd made love to this gorgeous guy that I had been just mooning about.
Jerry soon found out she was going to have a baby, but she never told George.
I didn't want to make him feel obligated, like I'd say, hey, I'm having your baby, what are you going to do about it?
We both went about our separate ways, and I had no idea at all she was to be pregnant.
George went back out on tour. Meanwhile, Jerry's husband, Warren, begged her to take him back, and when she told him about her dilemma,
he said, I'll raise this baby like it was my own. Nobody need ever know.
Jerry and Warren remarried. She never told him the father of the baby was their friend George Eiferman, even though there was one striking clue.
When he was born, the first thing my husband said when he saw him was, he's built like a weightlifter. And I went, oh, he doesn't realize how close it is.
They called the baby Bob, and Jerry carried her secret as they raised him. Meanwhile, George went on to win the Mr. Universe crown in 1962. He became a personal trainer and palled around with the likes of Sylvester Stallone, Clint Eastwood, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. He also got married and divorced.
My first wife and I weren't compatible.
30 years had passed since that torrid afternoon with Jerry. With George now living 275 miles away in Las Vegas, it looked as if the star-crossed lovers were destined to remain apart until fate changed everything in 1992.
My husband had a ruptured aorta, and he died suddenly, just within minutes.
George was at his gym in Las Vegas when he heard the familiar voice of his old flame on the phone, asking him to come to Warren's funeral.
I said, George, are you sitting down? And he said, yeah, why? I said, because I've got a bombshell to drop on you.
She told me that you know, Bob was my son.
I said I didn't see any reason to invade your life or make you feel like you owed me anything. It was just enough to raise your child.
Okay, I wanted to do the right thing. 38 years later.
He said, how does a person propose to someone who has just lost their spouse? And I says, any way you can, I guess.
4 months later, with their 37-year-old son Bob looking on, Jerry finally married the man of her dreams.
This is what they call fun.
You always wanted to be a swinger, right?
Now, Jerry and George live like newlyweds in a quiet suburban Los Angeles neighborhood, discovering new things about each other every day.
We have so much in common. She loves nature and anthropology. That's why she likes me. I'm old.
I don't think there's anything that you like that I don't like, honey, or vice versa.
I don't like going to the beauty shop.
But you're always there when I'm there.
George has bought a new gym where his new fitness disciples, Jerry and Bob, are also his new family.
It's not even real. You know, sometimes he'll call me up and just tell me how much he loves me, and it's just too much for me to handle sometimes.
Let me see that muscle, sweetheart.
You let the air out.
Jerry and George Eiferman now blissfully celebrate each day they can spend together. She finally has her Mr. Universe and a thought for anyone who despairs over a lost love.
Never give up. I mean, the Lord may have something wonderful for you in the future. Just keep on looking for that perfect guy. He's out there. He may be looking for you.
Ain't love grand? Coming up, he's the most famous